A very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I am Train Balanuso here from Abuja.
Well, here in Lagos, it's Rise and Shine from us. I'm Kayode Okikelu in the nation's commercial capital.
Today is November 9. It's a Wednesday morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome.
Well, yeah, both capitals of some sort, aren't they? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what is making the rounds in the dailies here today. And let's start off with Daily Trust newspapers today, and they are focusing on the governorship race. Interestingly, we did speak about the courts yesterday and what to expect from them, but look at this now. Courts playing a major role, or at least from what is playing now so far. So on the front page of Daily Trust, governorship race, uncertainty over fate of PDP, APC candidates in 4 states. PDP has no candidate in Zamfara, as ascribed to the court. Binani, Bwacha, Adebutu fight to reclaim tickets. INEC must stand by rules of the game ascribed to Dons. So, these are the kind of headlines and narrative you see, and you just keep wondering, where does this leave the electorate if certain rules are not complied with? And by the way, a lot of questions concerning the internal democracy of a lot of these political parties, and so perhaps that just gives, if not a lot of clarity or perspectives in terms of how they value internal democracy. So there you go. That's what's we're playing out here, and it's a big one. Well, yeah, they've got several other headlines here. Bandits abduct 20 children in Niger State, demand 40 million naira. This is just coming to an really embarrassing scenario here. Hoping that the agencies, the relevant agencies, doing what they can to ensure that this becomes history. And then here in the nation's capital, marketers push for, look at that, 200 naira per litre as petrol sells above 180 naira per litre in Abuja. And you know, guys, we keep talking about some of these things. You wonder, so what really would they say is the challenge? Why do we keep having this almost all the time? So it's either they put up a facade concerning, I mean, last time out they thought it was the floods that affected several things. Well, now you have different reasons, but now what reason will they give to this one yet again? So, wow, it just never ends. Well, that's Daily Trust this morning, guys.
I mean, I think the reasons are literally endless, and it depends on what time of the year these things happen. If it's not the value of the dollar to the naira, if it's not what landing costs versus, you know, the transportation cost. Well, recently we had to hide behind flooding, right, because it was flooding in the nation. But really, it's just sad that we've been going around in circles. Let's understand what the state of that sector is, because literally everyone has to depend either directly or indirectly on petrol, even diesel. I mean, diesel is something that a lot of people have maybe moved on from. Yes, they feel the hurt in their pockets, but you know what? Let's turn our attention to another dailies, because the stories are actually out there for you to do your picking this morning. Leadership is next. Leadership has this on its front page this morning. Bauchi governor accuses Atiku of unfair treatment. So that's the lead for the leadership this morning. But just on top of that, let me take the writers of this for you first so you get a sense of this. PDP flag bearer meets governor over grievances. We will win 2023 presidency despite opposition. That's coming from the chairman of the party, Iyorchia Ayu. You see, we wish you good luck, Wike replies. Yeah. Okay. The next writer.
Sometimes that always just sounds like a play on words.
Yeah. It's not bad to wish anybody good luck, right?
We wish you good luck, and then you paused before you say that.
No, because I mean you had to weigh both and try to think which is it. But I'll just let you do the choosing there. I see Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, others to attend the candidates' presidential town hall series. So that's what you find there, right there. That's playing out in the People's Democratic Party. There was a meeting, really, but some have said the fact that there's a meeting does not mean there aren't issues. Perhaps a meeting even points to the fact that there are issues to be resolved, and how well that meeting, or those series of meetings, will resolve the issues is now the big question. On top of that, you see this one. Half pay, ASU ends meeting, says no more strike. Yes, you heard that correct. So, I mean, questions will abound now. No more strike this year, or no more strike ever.
Well, the details will be on the inside pages, right?
Imagine the students saying no more strike. I mean, that statement was put out asking Nigerians to bear with them and trying to defend their position, saying, I mean, we're not casual workers, as it were, so you cannot treat us the same way. And we've seen people speak in favor and against that. And I think it looks like both sides have overwhelming, arguments, I would say, convincing arguments. Some might say one party has more than the other, but I mean, over time.
At the end of the day, what is at stake here is education. I don't think we even understand the long-term consequences of some of the actions. Yeah. There was an agreement. Was this half-pay part of the agreement that the federal government had with ASU? Or is it because ASU is playing on the fact that, I beg your pardon, federal government is playing on the fact that ASU decided to be a law-abiding organization by obeying a court order? How many times has the federal government, been said to not obey court orders? So it's a conundrum, all kinds of issues that are arising here and there. So I guess we just wait and see.
Honestly, I don't know if you find details about payment of salary, what it would be. He was in that agreement, because a lot of people
was there an agreement? It was a court order.
A court order, rather. But there's always a reference to agreements, the bargaining, and the whole process. But I mean, you see from the government side as well. As they've said, no work, no pay. So it's quite tricky. Are you saying you will not abide by that word you said? And are you saying that you want to encourage strikes in the future? So as I said, lots of arguments for that one. Of course, the story on the pump price of petrol makes its way. Another petrol pump price hike imminent.
Just yesterday, a friend right in front of me bought fuel for 200 naira in Lagos. So they're not just pushing for it.
It's already a thing.
It's already a thing. And who knows how much it is in other parts of the country.
Yes. So, is this inevitable? I mean, is this the one before the big one? Because, I mean, the government says after a while, subsidy will be removed anyway. So should we just start getting used to it? Or I think the question has always been transparency. Let's understand what is going on in that sector.
And let someone come out and speak to Nigerians.
Not the usual, we have enough for 30 days.
Just talk to us. What's the problem? What's the issue?
A couple of more stories on the front page. I'll leave you to do the choosing this morning. That's Leadership newspaper.
Nigerian News Direct is squarely talking about ASU this morning. No work, no pay. Anger as ASU pay cut threatens academic stability. And look at the riders. Reps to consider 170 billion naira for lecturers' welfare, 300 billion naira revitalization funds in 2023 proposed budget. Call for National Summit on Tertiary Education Reform. Doctrine of no work, no pay is inapplicable to lecturers. That's ascribed to Falana. That'll be interesting. After all, some people are saying that, the Pension Act does not apply to them. Hey, so what are we talking about here? But all the details you'll find on the inside pages of the Nigerian News Direct this morning. Several others you can pick for yourself. That's the Nigerian News Direct today.
I'll take a look at Daily Times next. They lead with a story that raised eyebrows. Court convicts EFCC chairman for contempt. That is a big one there. Sends him to Kuje Correctional Facility. We've appealed court verdict ordering my arrest. Ascribed to the EFCC boss. And guys, you were speaking about obeying court orders and things like that. This is a similar scenario because, the court was talking about the fact that, it stemmed from him, the EFCC chairman, his refusal to obey a valid order made by the court. This was sometime in November. Yeah, I think it's 2018, thereabout, if I remember properly. So that this is related directly to that particular case. Or much as yes, they say they've appealed it, but it was also speaking about this, just dragging and saying there was this, I think trying to look for the appropriate word they used, unlawful seizure, yeah, of a certain one-time director with the director of operations with the Air Force. And so that's how this is connected to that one. Yes, much as I say he's appealed it, but you don't want to see these kind of narratives, concerning obeying or not obeying court order. So the court ordered the Inspector General of Police to ensure that the order is carried out. But nothing can happen yet if they've appealed it. So they've got to wait and see what exactly happens with this one. I know many I said don't hold your breath, but I don't know. The proceedings will play themselves out in the courts, and we'll see what happens thereafter. And so you also have this one at the bottom strip, payment of half salary aberration, contravention of laws ascribed to ASU, says FG treating union as casual workers. FG should stop provoking lecturers, ascribed to Falana. So much as they say, no more strike, I think they should just read that story and put it in proper context. If everybody goes home saying, well, no matter what we do, they will never embark on a strike. And then the union becomes what now? What's that word that they like to use many times? Toothless bulldog kind of narrative. I don't know if that will even ever apply here. So, yeah. FG has taken charge of Nigeria Waterways Security, ascribed to Sambo. So that is what you see right there. And then this picture makes the rounds again on the front page. You might like it. Just go ahead and take a look at Daily Times, if you will. That is it with that paper today.
Well, take a look at this Nigeria with the lead. Prisons decongestion. FG frees 12,000 inmates. So that's another angle entirely. I mean, so much happened, really. As controversy persists over alleged release of over 101 Boko Haram terrorists in Kirikiri Correctional Center. So that's how this Nigeria leads. It's a focus on the prisons, or the custodial centers, the reform facilities. I know that we have since moved away from using prisons and now, custodial correctional centers. Thank you very much. And essentially the reform process. And it's funny, the things we don't pay as much attention to, they actually have an effect on the society a lot. And it's just quite ironic. But I'll just leave you to do that reading this morning. It's a focus on our correctional centers.
But is it just a change in nomenclature? The facilities that the police, law enforcement uses, residence, office, how does it look compared to correctional facilities? Let's kind of compare which one even looks any better, which one is preferable for human habitation. It's a responsibility that a number of people would say squarely on the table of the Internal Affairs Minister. Well, we can probably talk about funding challenges, revenue challenges that the federal government has, but it doesn't take away the dignity of lives.
You know the irony of life, and I think you just struck a chord, which I hope that people responsible will take this on, because we've talked about this for decades. I mean, the state of the infrastructure, their homes, the police
stations,
is it barracks now, where they stay,
barracks, yes.
The stations. I went into a police station some months back, and believe me, I felt scared for myself. It was dark. I mean, imagine going to a police station and it looks like you're already in custody at that point. It was dark, it was dirty. I mean, and that was just after the NSAS. It was looking. Apparently, it always been like that anyway. And I'm wondering, what would you expect to get? What kind of service would you expect to get from these men? I mean, yes, there are talks about the way they operate. Some of them, the bad eggs, they say. But I mean, look at it. You give them, to whom much is given, much is expected. But
to
whom
little is given.
Little is given. Imagine what is expected. So I hope we pay more attention to this, really. More stories. You see that one, half salary. We've been treated like casual workers. ASU laments. So it's majorly ASU this morning across the front pages. At least that's one story that is consistent. I'll tell you this one for free. Naira keeps staggering at black market exchanges for $800. And I don't know how many times we'll say that. It's actually really an aberration.
Did I hear $800?
Sorry, 800 Naira.
I just wanted to be
dollar.
sure.
Really, I mean, it's for people that keep watch on this that will know. There are a lot of Nigerians that really, they just hear that dollar is rising and they just imbibe it into their goods. And
I mean,
Ghana dollar.
Don't blame anyone. I was talking about it over the weekend. I saw a cartoon. It was sometime last week. Orange seller increased price. Madam, what is Oga? Dollar don't rise.
She has to import the knife. Or what? Or the tray.
Orange seller.
It's a global village, believe me. But it's an aberration, as we said. Different rates.
Well, yeah, but don't also forget that they go to the same market everyone goes to. So, I mean, it's only natural if your own recurrent expenditure finds its way on the business.
You know the question I always ask. A lot of people have access to dollars. When it's time to maybe exchange it or whatever, at what rate do people exchange it? Do they exchange it for the official rate or for the black market rate?
Depends on where. It's like you want to buy bread.
So why don't people go to Bureau de Change and all of that and say, you have to change it for me at the official Naira rate?
Yeah, but then you are going to have a limited quantity of money that you want.
So this is what I'm saying, you have $100. So people want to change to Naira, as it were. Why don't they say change it for me for what, 440 Naira? Why did they go for the 800 Naira?
Because
so they have more value.
Well, they have it in the bank.
Okay, let's move
well,
on.
I think I understand what you are saying. But hey,
point, right?
It's like, I mean, everybody wants more value for whatever. It's only natural. And if the opportunity wasn't there, it wouldn't exist.
So maybe, why don't we just...
Perhaps that's what the vice president was talking about when he was talking about varying, exchange rates or something like that. Let's find a way to converge them.
So maybe close one that looks like it's not working, because clearly you don't get access to it, or just face the reality.
I guess we'll have to wait for that day.
Let's leave it there for this Nigeria. I think I'll just leave it that.
Well, the Guardian newspaper is talking money, but this is the way it looks at it. Diesel, gas prices compound FX woes and inflation outlook. Trust the Guardian to go in depth on that one. Story continues on page 6. Find the details therein. And of course, you can see major players, so to speak, right there on the front page of the paper in those pictures that you see. Right under the pictures on the lower part of the page, insecurity, Nigerians worried over threat to 2023 polls despite assurances. Definitely, I don't know how to put it, but every time we are in a build-up to the elections, those security, threats, security alerts are always there, and one is just wondering exactly what do we have to do. But hey, there really isn't any reason to panic. If you have nothing to fear, just keep your cool, keep your calm. Go on the election day, do your job, and go back home.
I mean, with the recent reports, Chamberlain was just reading one of the headlines, the kidnappings, ransom demands, and all of that. So I think it's important, if you want people to have that peace of mind, then we need to start seeing those results in the build-up. And I think that's what prompted the previous government, now Governor Goodluck Jonathan, to try to get mercenaries sort of to quell that issue with, terrorism and all that, because we're inching towards elections and we needed to see results. So it remains to see what will be done this time.
While that is going on, let's not forget that we lost the first line of defense. These elections will happen at polling units that are like cells in the local government areas. And if we don't have a functional, active local government system, thankfully some states, a number more states are passing the bills now. So one is wondering exactly how we're going to go about it. But hey, that's what you have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And a number of other writers, some of them we have already mentioned. But there is this one, 90% of leaders shy from observing corporate governance, says Institute of Directors. Find out the details of that on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Chamberlain.
Well, what do we know? Well, first of all, look, if anyone has got questions concerning voting in 2023, either your voter card, I think to a large extent we may have some answers for you after the review of the daily. So you just have to keep it locked here so that you know, you could clarify perhaps whatever thorny issue you may have. But yeah, let's take a look at that paper, New Telegraph, which you saw just a moment. And you were talking about whatever do they have in the bank. Look at this, half salary. It appears that that's what ASU has got at the bank. But they're not happy with it, and so they say, we're not casual workers. ASU tells FG, says pro rata payments contravenes all known rules of engagement, appeals for understanding of students, parents, others. Return to classroom, Unijos VC pleads with lecturers. Yeah, I know. That raises questions, right? Concerning, wait a minute. Pleading with them to return means they've not returned. So is it the same thing for all the others? Who knows? But this is the lead story here. You may want to go ahead and check that out. And then, you know, the previous paper was talking about what? Forex and things like that. And we were wondering what excuse would they give now concerning the scarcity of petroleum products. Look at this, above this lead story here. PMS, dual exchange rates raise costs as service providers demand dollars. I know. And you would have thought, what has this got to do with anything? You know. But here they're saying that the marketers themselves are saying, well, that's why you have those varying costs. Don't forget the official price that you sell, that they're supposed to sell this product is 169 naira per liter. But some you buy for 200 naira above in some other parts of the country. And now they're saying, well, we can't, the disparity between the parallel market and the CBN rate, it's given us a challenge. And then local suppliers, they say, are demanding foreign currency. And if you remember, we know the CBN is always big on saying, look, certain people, you should not do certain things in foreign currency. It has to be local currency. So why is this any different? And then when you see this, you wonder, but didn't they tell us that NNPC is the sole importer of petroleum products? So wherein comes all the other marketers laying claims or talking about inability to access Forex or different prices of Forex? If we get a different price, we have to make profit. All that narrative just keeps making the rounds. So is this what's going to happen if we deregulate? Because look, this is never good. Well, at least from what we've been doing in the past 20 years, has it ever stabilized? What was the value of the currency 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Has it ever gone lower? So if you extrapolate, it just looks as though it will keep going up. And so if we deregulate and the prices keep going up and these excuses remain, does that mean that someday you may buy this product at what? 600 naira per liter? I don't know if it's a question of God forbid this time, but look, the figures are there for everyone to see. Well, all the other headlines are here for you. Court, EFCC boss appeals as court reminds him in prison. You got several of them here, but that will be New Telegraph this morning, guys.
You know, these are some of the questions on the minds of Nigerians, businesses, really. You could just cut them some slack, really, because imagine having to grapple with all of these issues. You have your work, you have your family. Goodness, maybe there should be some inconvenience allowance or something for Nigerians.
What we do, speaking nationally, as Chamberlain has said, I've contended this so many times, and I'm going to say it again. What is the national ethos? The education, health, transportation, aviation, what other ministry, humanitarian affairs, all of them will work towards that vision. But until we have that, maybe just 3 lines. Just 3 lines.
It makes it easier, simplifies things.
Now, channels television, you're home for the news. In other words, you're looking for the news, you come here. Authentic news, you come here.
See what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely.
You only have to use the example you
Take a cue, right? Well, Vanguard newspaper is next. You see this one, insecurity. Recall ex-servicemen, now retired military officers tell FG. I mean, we've heard this call time and again. You see the writers recommend aggressive recruitment of new security personnel. Seek erection of walls at nation's borders. Okay. Walls again at borders. Okay.
Is that Nigeria or US?
This is Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
Civilian human intelligence gathering will help. That's coming from Urabo. and a military stretched thin security expert. There's Mr. and Mrs. of course, and it just hit me while Chimale was talking that it's quite interesting. So for the dollar you have different rates, 2 rates. For the price of petrol now you have two figures. There's the official and unofficial. If you want to get maybe your passport now, there's the official,
if you
and
want,
there's what they'll call unofficial, your license, and all. And you wonder,
if you want the official petrol, maybe you go to an NNPC fuel station if they have fuel.
And your body will tell, as they say, if you have to sit in the queue. There's Mr. and Mrs. there for you, but let me just show you sports page. Yeah, countdown to the World Cup. The fact that Nigeria is not going to be there doesn't mean it won't hold. There's controversies actually surrounding that. And see, Blatter claims Qatar World Cup is a mistake. Yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth regarding that, but this is good. Africa to field all homegrown coaches. Yeah, so I think that's good. Mr. and Mrs. says. So Mr., they're at the table, really, and he's talking to Mrs., I think, after a meal, saying, I like everything in that soup, especially the stockfish. How can I get this type of soup regularly, Mr. asks. And Mrs. says, well, invest in stock exchange. Give me money, and you'll get plenty of stockfish. I don't want to see the stock market report. I'm thinking of stockfish. That's a vanguard for you.
I don't know if that's the stock you have on the front page of Tribune this morning, Nigerian Tribune. What stock is going up? Nah. Well, or is it issues that are stock or what?
Political stock.
It's political stock. Yeah. Are they stuck in the political stock?
Udom, you see what Mr.
Udom Bala Mohammed reaffirmed support for Atiku. Stories on page 2. Despite position of G5 governors, PDP will win Rivers 24 other states, according to IU. Find the details on the inside pages. Under that picture on the front page, in move to secure Kano for APC, Ganduje reconciles the Goa deputy governorship candidate. The story is on page 3. Again, court nullifies Zamfara PDP governorship primaries. Did I see the word again?
Yeah, again, actually. And I imagine for the candidates, there's been a lot of green light, no, red light. Nice, some
yellow
red.
Light.
Oh, dear.
Well, that's the Nigerian Tribune this morning. You're still wondering?
No, it's just quite interesting, some of the stories you find right there on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
You find some others?
Well, yeah, this one is quite sad. 4 feared dead, several injured as explosion rocks Onitsha chemical market. But take a look at the Daily Independent just to talk about that story. It's on page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune. But Daily Independent leads with this one. PDP chieftains see Iyorchia Ayu's miscalculation deepening crisis. So you see miscalculation is there in quote. You wonder who is saying that. Well, more details inside the Daily Independent this morning. And of course, house salaries makes its way as well. Yeah, as well as some of the other issues we have raised this morning, saying
the house salaries, but don't compromise current industrial peace. ASU warns FG. Certainly something concerning, you know.
Do you think the intervention by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and I know he put out a statement in that regard, talking about some of the things that have happened and the plans and the works in the budget, specifically talking about the provision of what, over 170 billion naira for some of those issues. So you wonder if ASU would delay, if they would be enthused to delay gratification in quote, as they say, while these things play out. But you know what is playing out here, really.
You know, one of the issues that is concerning is even the budget performance. Over the years, have we always been able to do even 80% of resources of the budget spending that we were supposed to do? That's why I still ask the question, why give, I mean, it's like I have a child. I give you money, you don't account for the one you spent, and then I'm asking you, I'm giving you more?
Well, a lot of this is about revenue generation, really. It's not like we get the revenue to fund the budget.
Exactly.
So revenue crunch.
It's one thing to budget, it's another thing altogether for the funds to be released, isn't it?
Well, that's the Daily Independent for you. Lots of questions, really.
Well, and I guess that ends a look at the papers this morning. We're back after now to take on the issues for the day. Do stay with us.
All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Yes, indeed, we are starting off with election segment. We've got Dr. Lawrence Bayode, who is the Deputy Director, ICT, for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. And sitting beside him is our Chief Gostin Okoye, former presidential candidate, Secretary Coalition for New Nigeria. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for coming on our program today.
Good morning to you. Good morning.
So, I mean, whatever it is that the viewers may have heard before about the election, the BVAs, the IREV, we will go over them again just in case, because we've got the man who heads the ICT department. So he is the one who should be answering a lot of questions concerning that area to a large extent. And maybe even if it's not about ICT, I won't be surprised if they bring it to you insofar as it's INEC, so people want to get answers. So we'll break it down as much as possible. Both of them are here to go through your questions. So there was this report, several reports actually, some days ago about, you know, when people here plot to rig 2023 election to get everyone's antenna up, saying, what's going on this time? What are politicians up to? Is INEC going to collude or connive with anyone concerning this? And then when you go through some of those stories, they say it's through uploading of results. So, of course, the BVAS, the Biometric Voter Accreditation System, and then the IREV. Those are innovations that lots of Nigerians are looking forward to. In fact, that is the main reason why a lot of people went out to register, because they thought that if the system will work, then they think their vote will count. So let's start off from there. What is the current position now concerning operationalizing BVAS and IREV by INEC?
Thank you, Chamberlain, and thank you, Nigerians. Let me start off by saying that two reasons why the Commission is deploying these two technologies. One is to reduce human intervention that can or that could alter the wishes of voters, and also to increase the integrity of the electoral process, to deepen the integrity of the electoral process. So these are the two reasons why the Commission is deploying these two technology. And operationalizing them, the two technologies, the BVAS and the IREV, I think we are ready. Everything is in place. As we speak, training of the technical staff that will support these two technologies on election day has commenced. We've done for two regions, Southwest and Northwest, but because of some activities that is also coming on in the coming week, we are suspending for the other region. After this activity, the training will commence again. Yeah.
But it's not out of place to say that, much as yes, INEC is deploying these technologies to reduce human interference, but it doesn't mean that the fact that they want to reduce human interference doesn't mean that there still cannot be manipulation, even though human interference is reduced.
Yeah, you are right, but INEC is doing all its best to reduce manipulation, to eradicate manipulation. We have done a lot when it comes to securing the systems, and you can't build a house if you don't erect a gate to that house. It means that you are susceptible to a lot of vulnerabilities. We have seen this, and we've done a lot to ensure that these systems cannot be manipulated.
Okay, let's talk about the BVAS and IREV, since the typology of the gates to ensure the integrity of the elections. What should the electorate, the voters, expect in terms of, first of all, the usage of BVAS on election day?
Yeah, the BVAS is the acronym is bimodal, just like you said earlier, bimodal voter accreditation system. So the BVAS will be deployed on election day to accredit the voters. And you don't need internet for the BVAS to work on the field on election day. The only time you need the internet for the accreditation aspect of the BVAS is when you are doing the configuration. And this will be done in our offices nationwide. And when you deploy that technology to the field on election day, you don't need internet. It works seamlessly without the internet. So the voter should expect that on election day, in 2023 general election, they will not be seeing the smart corridor. Again, what they will be seeing is the BVAS, and that BVAS will be used to accredit them. And the BVAS, bimodal, it means that it's going to be using either the face or the fingerprint to accredit the voter. When your fingerprint fails, it switches to the face, and if that fails, and if any of them fail, you can, if for example, if the fingerprint fails, you can use the face. If the face fails, you can use the finger. But if both fails, then the voter will not be allowed to vote.
I know the INEC observed what happened in Kenya. Was that the case?
Well, I was not in Kenya, so I don't know, and I don't have that report, so I can't speak to that. Yeah.
Okay. For Anambra elections, we know that. Okay, well, Mr. Okoye, let me let you respond to first of all the BVAS component in terms of deployment of BVAS. You heard his explanation, so I know you've also been keeping tabs on this for a while.
Yeah.
How do you see this?
Well, thank you very much for the very interesting question and very very exciting to be with the INEC, the man in charge of the system, so to speak. But you see, in situations like we are getting into, like election, it is, and it's good you ask a question that now made him to explain what the BVAS is. It's always good to explain things very well whenever there's opportunity like this. Like you say BVAS, you say IREV, what do they do to ordinary people? It's not every Nigerian that attends the seminars or the programs that INEC organizes, but in situations like this, most Nigerians will be listening to find out what happens. If you use BVAS, will the transmission go from the BVAS? Will it go from the IRF? Will it go from another equipment or another intermediary? Because that's when, like, I think it was Joseph Stalin that said, those that vote is irrelevant. Those that chase around the voters is irrelevant. What matters, those that count, are those that count the votes. Therefore, in trying to ensure that the election is credible, it is what happens after the voters have done their job. And like they have brought in this system, that maybe we believe it will take away the issue of collation centers, like local government collation center or ward collation center and the state collation centers, which was the issue we had as at 2015. Several occasions we asked, at what point, because in their guideline, INEC mentioned electronic transmission of votes in that 2015 guideline, and we kept asking, at what point do you do the transmission? If you can clearly say when the transmission will be done and how, because like he said, yes, it is good to reduce human element, but human element will also be there. Because somebody is going to bring the BVAS, somebody is going to activate it, somebody is going to maybe sign in to make it operational. If those things are not done, the machine cannot put itself on, it cannot make itself function, it is somebody that will operate it. And after operating it, what next?
Okay.
Is it like you're recording the votes as they are coming in, or after the voting, the machine counts how many votes that has been cast for each party, and then does the transmission itself automatically, or is somebody going to activate it to do the transmission?
Okay.
These are little technical issues that we need to,
I think that's
we don't even want to talk about how it can be disabled for now, because that's another kettle of fish.
How it can be disabled?
It can be disabled. It can be, because depending on what frequency or what, like he has said, it doesn't need internet to work. But there has to be something that makes it work. It's either using wave or a particular frequency. And if it's using frequency or wave, it can be jammed.
Well, I think to a large extent, especially when you hear INEC say that they tried to hack the system and they didn't succeed, so that gives a lot of confidence to anyone.
But that would mean they will stop.
No, of course, I think they themselves know that the people won't stop trying to do that. But when you say at the point where you use the BVAS for accreditation, there is no need for an internet.
Yes.
Is that to say that, because you remember when INEC deployed the smart card readers, before that deployment, there were several tests before the election.
Yeah.
And we saw that some regions performed better on the test day. But on election day, it was the reverse. Those performances, people were a little surprised, thinking, wait a minute, but this region, it was almost like 60%, 70% performance in terms of usage. So on that day itself, it was different. Now, this is the first time we're going to be deploying this nationally for a general election. So people will expect so much from the commission. Are you saying that deploying that BVAs for accreditation, there can be no room whatsoever for anyone? Not even someone, no room for any manipulation.
Yeah.
No one can say, well, I won't resume early, I won't deploy this equipment, because those are types of ways they can frustrate electorates from doing the right thing at the right time, because time is of essence on that day.
When these machines are deployed on election day, we have a control center here in Abuja, where these machines will be monitored online, and it tells you where those machines are at a particular point in time. It tells you if the machine is active or not. So for example, 9:30 a.m., if you are watching the control center device and the machine is not active, for example, 9:30 a.m. is in the right location and is not active, I think that makes you put a call across to ask, why is this machine not active at this time? So we see everything. The machine is monitored. It's watched from the control center. So the question that you raised will be taken care by this monitoring.
Is that to say that if it's not on by 9:30, if it comes on an hour or 2 hours later, will those voters be able to recover the time so that every region has the same amount of time for their processes?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the way it runs. If the voting starts by 8:30 and closes by 2:30, if by 2:30 you still have a lot of people on the queue, then those people on the queue, you allow, even at 2:30, you allow them to cast their vote until the last person. The only thing that will happen is that they will not allow anyone to join the queue again after 2:30. But if they're on the queue before 2:30, you allow all of them to cast their vote before the poll is closed for that particular polling unit.
Okay, now this is just with regard to BVAs for accreditation.
Yes.
So we've not talked about the IREV and uploading, so we will talk about that, but my colleagues in Lagos have got questions for you. Go ahead, guys.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. This is for Dr. Bayode to clarify, really clearly on that, because I remember Mr. Okoye was talking about the possibility of BVAs also being compromised, and I mean, we know that BVAs, ideally, for the whole process, naturally should not have to rely on internet. So I want Dr. Bayode to just speak to that clearly. Is there any world, is there any possibility that BVAs can be compromised? Because I was talking about it depends on what wave. I mean, those terms are quite new to me. So please help us understand. Is that a possibility? Because we understand that it doesn't rely on internet.
All right, thank you. I want to say again that we have done everything to ensure that the BVAs is not compromised. The data on the BVAs will be secured. That is, the data at rest on the BVAs will be secured. After the poll, when the data is transmitted to our backend server, the data in transit will also be secured. And by the time the data gets to our backend server, the data is also secured there. We have looked at the machine. We have looked at a lot of things. Like I said earlier, you can't build such system and you won't fortify the system to solidify the system. Whether we like it or not, people are trying to they've tried a lot to beat this system. But the more they try, the more they meet a brick wall. I can say here categorically that every surface attack vulnerability on this system, we've taken care of it. And we have, like I say, we have also tried our best to ensure that the system cannot be hacked into on election day. And I can say again that the BVAs cannot be compromised.
So this is particularly about the point he raised. He said that the possibility of being jammed, I don't know if it's by an electromagnetic pulse or whatever, but he talked about waves. So, I mean, that's your field, essentially. You understand the working. So can it be jammed? Is there a possibility of that jamming, essentially? I'd like you to speak to that particularly.
Yeah, the only time you can be talking about jamming is when you are reading information from the PVC, and the BVAS is not designed to read information from the PVC. Because of that, we can't be talking about jamming. We can't be talking about frequency between the BVAS and the PVC because the BVAS is not designed to read information from the PVC. All information of voters are already downloaded on the BVAS at the point of configuration. So you don't need to read information from the PVC. You bring up the information of the voter on the machine itself. And this can be done in 4 ways. Is either you type in the last name of the voter, or you type in the last digit of the VIN of the voter, or you read the QR code on the register, or you read the barcode at the back of the PVC. And yes, the technology of reading the QR code or reading the barcode, it's the frequency is very, very small, so it is very difficult for anybody to jam that frequency. And we are no longer using the smart car reader. I think the only time people should be talking about jamming is when we're deploying the smart car reader. And even at that, the smart car reader was designed so that nobody will be able to jam the frequency between the smart car reader and the PVC when that technology was deployed in 2015. And so there is no issue of jamming any frequency when it comes to deployment of the BVAS.
That, Dr. Badi, you're trying as much as possible to ensure you don't let out too much, so that, I mean, for the concerning the security features, so that people don't, go through the back door, since you said the surface hacking is not possible. But talk to us about the IREV, the INEC Election Results Viewing Portal. It's BVAS has been talked about a lot, but the IREV, maybe not so much. What's the handshake, if there is any, between the BVAS device and IREV, if there is a difference? Perhaps, people need to understand that as well.
Okay, thank you so much. The INEC is calling that device BVAS, and it's like an all-in-one device that can be used for voter enrollment. It can be used for voter accreditation, and it can also be used for result and transmission. So the relationship, when you talk about IREV and BVAS, the BVAS, it's, like I said earlier, it's used to do accreditation during election. Now, that same BVAS, that same device called BVAS will be used to capture, scan, or photograph the Form EC8A, that is the result at the polling unit. It is used to scan, photograph, or capture that result and send to our electronic result transmission system. Now, the IREV is the public face of this system. There is electronic transmission result system, and there is the IREV. The IREV is a public face. So you use the BVAs to capture, and that IREV is INEC Result Viewing Portal. You use the BVAs to capture the Form EC8A, that is after the poll, after the result is entered on the form, the presiding officer has signed, all the party agents they've signed, if they are around to sign. Then after then, it is used to capture that result, and that result is uploaded to the electronic result transmission system. And the IREV, like I said, is the public viewing part of that system. So as soon as it is transmitted, that result is made public, so people can view that result on that IREV portal.
Just to be clear, Doctor, you're saying that as the elections are ongoing and results are being sent, people can see the figures growing or reducing, or exactly how does that work? When you say it's the public face, you're saying that there is a site, maybe a subdomain or something, that people can go to and see the results of their polling unit as it is being uploaded. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we are not tiling on this. What you are seeing on the IREV is the Form EC8A. So we are not doing any tallying. You only see the Form EC8A uploaded to the to that portal. After the result is announced, the result is after it is entered into that Form EC8A, it is snapped, captured, or photographed, and it is sent to the electronic transmission result system. And because the IREV is the public face of that system, then people are able to view. You won't be seeing any results fluctuating, going up, like you said, or down. All you need to see, for example, polling unit A, I want to see the result of the polling unit where I voted. I go to the IREV, I click on the poll, I click on the state, I click on the LGA, I click on the RA, I click on the polling unit, and I see the result. You will see the form. It is image of the form that is scanned that you will see on the IREV. So we are not collating, we are not tallying on the IREV. What you see on the IREV is the form EC8A as it is scanned from the polling unit and transmitted to the IREV. You will also see the form that when after collation at the RA will also transmit that from EC8B. That is the collation at the RA. You can also see that on the IREV.
Okay, Dr. Bayode, just quickly, for the 2023 elections, which one will we be seeing on the IREV? I'll come to Mr. Okoye just in a moment, but which of them will we be seeing? Because we've seen this play out in the the Ekiti elections, we've seen it in the Osun elections as well, polling units results. But for the 2023 elections, which of them? Is it the polling unit, or after they've been collated at another level? Which one are you planning to deploy for the 2023 elections specifically?
Yeah. You will see just like you saw in Ekiti and Osun. In Ekiti and Osun on the IREV, what people saw was just the polling unit result. But for the 2023 general election, you'll be seeing the polling unit result and the RA result.
Mr. Okoye, so now to get your own perspective, because I know there have been issues raised about this real-time viewing portal, which is the IREV, essentially, so Nigerians can see what is going on from their polling unit, from other polling units. And I know lots of issues have been raised about this, fears about whether or not INEC would implement it. Well, Dr. Bayode has given some insight, but I'd like you to speak to us about some of those concerns you have, such that Dr. Bayode can respond to them. By the way, I know you are the presidential candidate of UDP. you're with ADC now or Labour Party? Because I saw you had some meetings with Labour Party. So which one do you belong to, so we can properly contextualize your response as well?
Thank you very much for the questions, and of course the questions you have raised with the INEC official. It's quite interesting. I will start by saying that the equipment is an improvement, and INEC has been commended for it, and some people are already panicking that they won't be able to do business as usual. And that gave rise to why people started saying, oh, they wanted to remove the INEC chairman and all that. And then CUPP had to organize a press conference to denounce such move, if any, to say these BVAs must be allowed to work. And it is commendable, but like an aircraft is built not to crash. But you see, in an aircraft investigation, accident investigation, you see that most crashes are caused by human error. 95% are caused by human error. Yes, they have built a machine that is hoped to deliver the real thing. But the human element is an issue. What happens on that day at the police when you finish accreditation and before people, because it's not electronic voting yet, when you finish the accreditation, for instance, and you have maybe 100 people in a polling station that's accredited to vote, and some kind of commotion happens, and then the man that activates that machine is taken away, and then resurfaces after and says, this 90 voted for a particular party that will be in that system. What happens? How do you counter such things? And then, like he has also said, there is going to be transmission. That transmission must either, he has to use something. It's either an app, or is going through a frequency, or is going through a wave. We're not saying it so that we're not trying to do a Scotch criticism, but it is for INEC to also look into what we're trying to point out, to make it foolproof. Because on that day, and some things happen at the polling station. I've seen elections a couple of times. So if those things happen and there is no solution, it becomes a problem. And that's why we still have time. Yes, they can still do a review, a critical and positive review of Osho and the election. There is no equipment that works perfectly, just like I told you about an aircraft. It is built not to crash, fundamentally, but it does crash. Therefore, that window you have to transmit result, who does it? At what point do you do it? The frequency it uses, can it be compromised? Can it be hacked? Can it be disabled? Yes, the information in the equipment is secure. It is encoded and it is encrypted and it is done in such a way, yes, you can't take it out or you can't damage it. But there has to be something that happens between that machine and the portal. At that point, what happens? These are the issues we are raising. And like CUPP in their press conference pointed it out. And for the records, I'm a member of I'm a board member of ADC. That's African Democratic Party for now. So that's where we are. So the election, we hope it's going to be good. We hope it's going to be transparent. But the players in the field, you don't ignore what the participants are pointing out. Because from their own point of view, what they're doing is based on theory. That it's going to do this, it's going to do that. But on that day, the human mind is a funny machine. On that day, people will come up with some things that will upset what you have planned. How do you get against such things?
Okay, Mr. Okoye, we'll take this to Dr. Bayode in a moment, but on that point you raised, again, we know it's a political season and moves happen. So you say you're still with the ADC, and I saw that, or I heard that you put that caveat for now. So what about that meeting that happened with Mr. Ifedi Okwena some months back, where he said categorically that, you know, they have successfully secured senatorial and House of Reps candidates for Labour Party in all the 13 states. And your picture was there, right there in that meeting. So is that why you put for now there? Is there a possibility that you're moving? Because it's important to lay all the cards bare on the table.
Yeah. Well, I can't. I don't know which picture you're talking about, and you know, things can be done differently. Dr. Okwena is a good friend of mine, an associate of mine. You know, pictures could have been mixed up or jumbled up, I don't know the occasion of the event or whether the occasion you're talking about happened at the time the pictures were taken. So Babalola is a colleague of mine. We're from Anambra State. She was a commissioner in my state and a very good political associate. We still interface. We discuss issues of national importance and issues of state importance. So for now, I'm a member of I'm a BOT of ADC.
Right. So you're saying you didn't have any meeting with him because he's a close associate of the Labour Party's presidential candidate. Are you saying you never had that meeting? The pictures are there on the internet, by the way. You were wearing a black cap, brown outfit. So are you saying you didn't have that meeting, or the meeting was all geared towards you partnering with the Labour Party?
I've met Okwena a couple of times, and I can't remember. It's countless. I can say countless times. And at the level of Igbo Elders Forum we meet. So that's why I'm saying I don't know the particular picture you're talking about. Maybe when I see it, I will be able to clarify. But with reference to Dr. Okwena, we meet at different fora to discuss things. But the issue you're talking about, I don't know if I see the video, then I'll be able to clarify which one.
Okay.
Like I said, in the past 2 or 3 months, we have held a lot of meetings together. And then don't forget that both Labour Party and ADC were all members of COP. So at different stages, we interface. That's CUPP, Coalition of United Political Parties, which was formed in 2014. So we are still there, and then we discuss issues.
Okay, so let's go back to Dr. Bayode. Pardon me, we had to just also put that out there. So for those who've had the fears, the concerns, you may have seen some of them. In fact, Mr. Okoye talked about the ones raised by CUPP and others. They have said that they are worried that it might not have that real-time viewing of the results. They have also raised fears that maybe they might be real-time, but it won't be at the polling unit level. Maybe it will be at a different level. So just clear the air perhaps again, just so we can put this out there. Is that in the works? Is that a possibility? And what is INEC doing to ensure that whatever commitments you give now will not be thwarted, in whichever way in the coming days?
Yeah, thank you so much. The same thing we did in Ekiti and Osun concerning the upload of result. That is the same thing we will be doing during the 2023 general election. We did it in Ekiti, we did it in Osun. We were able to transmit results from the polling unit. I was saying earlier, let me digress a little bit. I was saying earlier that for the accreditation to happen, you will not need internet. We are discussing 2 things here. There is accreditation, there is upload of results. For the accreditation, I was addressing the issue of accreditation earlier when I said you will not need internet for the BVAs to be used as an accreditation device because the configuration was already done in our offices. But to transmit results, the result will be transmitted via the internet. And I will not be saying a lot of things here because of what one of your colleagues said earlier. Because the more you say things, the more people explore what you have said, the more they find vulnerability. Definitely, we'll use internet to transmit result right from the polling unit. We know that we have some blank spots in some places where the telcos or the MNOs have not covered. So what the process is, if after the election there is network in your polling unit, you transmit right from the polling unit. Now, if there is no network in your polling unit, the system captures what you have done. And as you move from point A to point B on your way, as soon as the system detects a network, that result is uploaded. So you already transmitted using that machine at the polling unit. But because there is no network in that polling unit, the results will still be on that device. But like I said earlier, that result on that device is protected, is secured. You can't do anything with it. Even if you bring it out, even if you bring it out and you take it back, the system will not recognize it. It is secured at rest. It is secured when you are transmitting, and it is secured at the other hand.
That's encrypted.
It is encrypted. It's encrypted on the machine. When it is moving, it's encrypted. And when it gets to the other hand, before it is decrypted. So you can't do anything with the data.
Okay.
So we use internet to transmit. So if there's no internet in your polling unit, as you move from that polling unit, maybe on your way to the registration collation center, if there's internet, then it goes to the yes.
We'll take it from there when we return after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We've got Dr. Lawrence Bayode, Deputy Director, ICT for INEC, and High Chief Gossi Okoye, who are both weighing in on the operationalization of the BVAs and the IREV, the technology that INEC will be using for the 2023 general elections. Well, Dr. Bayode, definitely, I mean, your views are the position of the Commission, and so Nigerians will take that to the bank, in a manner of speaking. But then you perhaps confirm again, contrary to what was reported, you're saying that the IREV, the results, while they are uploaded, people will be able to see it real time. The public can see it.
Yes.
So now, at what point do they see it? Because there were, those reports also were speaking about the fact that they say that there was going to be this, first of all, maybe you tell us about RATEC. And so is it after RATEC had verified those results before people can view it, or as it is being written, entered into the papers, the forms, that is the same way it will be uploaded? It won't need any verification from any so-called RATEC?
The Electoral Act is clear, and the presiding officer is the one who has the right to transmit that result from the polling unit. And as soon as that result is transmitted from the polling unit, you see that result online, real time, from the polling unit, real time. Now, if I'm not saying, because sometimes I've been on the field a lot of times, and you see not the score of the parties now. The score of the party is always intact, but the presiding officer, sometimes they make mistake. Maybe when they are tallying total number of vote casts, total number of this, of that, sometimes they do mistake, and that will not tally. Not the scores now. Because of course, they can't change that score. So by the time they get to the collation center, the collation officer will always tell them, what's your column that is at the top before the results are entered is not tallying. Because I've added number of accredited voters, number of this, not tallying with this. So try and go and make sure that they are tallied. At that point, that will be some, not on the result now, not on the result. There could be some, okay, you are supposed to write 101. This is supposed to be 101, but why are you getting 102? After tallying vote, total number of accredited, total number of vote cards. So why is it not tallying? Go and tally. Then the presiding officer does that and sign. What we're also going to be doing is that if anything happens to that result at the collation center, we also snap that result at the collation center, so that by the time you are seeing, you'll be seeing, so that you will not be seeing maybe from the polling unit, the person has entered total vote cast is this, and total registered voter, it's instead of 102 total registered voter, instead of 102, you now put 120, for example.
At the collation?
At the polling unit. You have made the mistake from the polling unit.
Oh.
Instead of total registered voters for that particular poll. We are not talking about the result. The result is there. You can't touch that because people already signed. For example, party A scored this, party B scored this, party C scored this. You can't touch that. Now, but for example, you are supposed to do 120 as total registered voter for that particular polling unit. Instead of doing 120, you now did 102 or 102. The collation officer can sit and say, no, why did you put 102 as total registered voter instead of 120?
So that cannot be a ground for someone to say there is an anomaly in that area to invalidate the results.
We can't invalidate the result because it's just an error. Maybe the person was in haste. It's an error committed by the presiding officer. Instead of 102 or instead of 120, you are writing 102. So the collation officer at that point. Now, the reason why we want to also push that is because something has happened at the collation center. Because what the presiding officer captured at the polling unit now is 102 as total registered voters instead of 120. By the time it gets to the collation center, the collation man say no, instead of 102, it's supposed to be 120. So it crosses it and put 120 so that the figure up there can tally. So now you can see that you have 102 uploaded initially, and now something has happened there. So what INEC is going to be doing, anything so that people can see the transparency. You see the result from the polling unit as it was uploaded, and if anything happens because what people do these days is that as INEC is pushing that result, they are also downloading that from EC80 and doing their own calculations with that. So if you are capturing total number of registered voters for a particular unit, for example, and the mistake has been done from the polling unit of 102 instead of 120, and now by the time it gets to the collation center, because the collation man, he needs to how do I say this now?
Reconcile the results.
You need to reconcile
the figures.
The figures. And if the thing is not balancing, he will not be able to finish his work. And he's seeing that instead of 102 as a voter register in that particular polling unit, the officer mistakenly wrote 120. He just asked him, cancel it and put the correct, because it's there. Why did you put 102 instead of 120? Oh, I was rushing. Okay, cancel it and sign. Put 102 and sign. So clearly, that result will also be.
So clearly, we do not expect from your narration, we do not expect to see any results announced where the total number of accredited voters does not reconcile or match the registered voters. So no such result can be announced in that manner.
No, you can't. If the law is clear, and excuse me, the accredited voters is there. If, for example, you have on the BVAs, you have 100 persons accredited on the BVAs, and on your result, you are putting 120 accredited. The collation officer will see it. As it gets to the collation center, the first thing that the collation officer does is to collect your BVAs, look at the total number of accredited, and look at on the BVAs, and look at what you have recorded on the form. If it is more than what is on the BVAs, the law says that result will be cancelled.
All right, so Mr. Koyi, hoping politicians will be patient enough to allow this process to see itself through. We're assuming that no such errors will be deliberately done, you know, because you never can tell these days. But from his explanation, it appears to be pretty straightforward.
Well, it does, like I said, you know, we've commended INEC for the improvement they've made towards securing the electoral system, but you can never rule out everything. And that's why we're talking about human element. And this is the area they really need to listen. And you see, like most theories, when we're doing economics in the secondary, they say all things being equal. A plus 1 plus 1 will give you all things being equal. And then somebody tells you, if 1 plus 1 does not give you 2, it's either you change 1 or you change 2. That's where the human element comes in. So if the integrity of the people you're going to deploy to man this sensitive equipment is doubtful, the end result will be a problem. Okay, now we talked about RATEC. How do you interface? It's like a relay race. How is the handshake done? Who does that handshake? Who operationalizes RATEC? At what point will RATEC be necessary? What does RATEC do? And how do you interface it with the national portal? These are things that we need to find out. It's either we are willing to, say, from the polling station, you transmit the result to the national portal, or you say, okay, there is only one point that you do collation. Because the moment you start saying it will be done at this level or it will be done at that level, too many hands are going to be involved. Like the BVAs is talking about. If the BVAs is to be deployed, once you are done with that, you send it to the national portal. If you're still going to do editing or cross-checking the figures, you do it there. But the RATEC, how does the RATEC work with the BVAs to ensure that you get the accurate results? Because from what they're saying now, it's like it's going to do the accreditation because the collation. That collation is critical. Like we say, when people add figures, and then, like in the last election, the INEC chairman will say, oh, Professor ABC from this state, your result is this, please go and check. And some of the professors will like stay there for more than 2 hours trying to put the figures together. So, and in the end, the contestants are not going to be happy. Everybody gets suspicious at that point. Therefore, there is need to ensure that what we're doing, and that's why in the political class, there are also people that are supporting that this equipment be used. Okay. And that was necessitated the CUPP press conference. And we probably would need to do more so that those trying to tamper with INEC or tamper with this equipment, because if they dislodge Professor Mahmoud at this point, it's going to be real critical. Okay.
So, well, some questions for Mr. Dr. Baide. You could hold that for a bit if you want to respond to it. But in addition to that, will the party agents and voters at the polling units also see this EC8 form as it is first before it's uploaded?
Yes, they will see it.
And
the party agent will sign. It is a signed one. The result signed by the presiding officer, the one signed by the agent. That is the result that will be uploaded.
But there's this observation, though, because I do remember that era, this partnership Channel CV had with Yaga, where they said that there was in that report, there's a report that they put up. It says poorly captured images of result sheets and incorrect or incomplete forms were uploaded to IREV by INEC. How did we come about that?
And that is sometimes you see a lot of these things because somebody is trying to capture an image on the table. Maybe you've signed, the result has been signed, and you are capturing and the place is not well lit. Definitely you are going to, and you don't know how to use the flash on the machine. Definitely you're going to have a poorly captured image. And sometimes they are in haste to capture, and before you know it, you want to capture this paper on this table now. Before you know it, you capture your foot.
Dr. Bayo, that will be deliberate.
No.
How can I want to capture this paper and then capture my foot?
We have seen it.
Whoa.
We have seen it. They quickly,
that cannot be a mistake.
They quickly tell you. They quickly tell you, oh, sorry, I've made a mistake. I'm just using my foot as an example. They quickly call, I've made a mistake. Do you understand? They quickly call the RATEC. Please, I want to capture this, but mistakenly, I captured something else, so I've made a mistake. So can you please?
So the RATEC would have seen.
Yes.
But isn't this RATEC already, weren't they operational during Osun governorship elections?
The RATECs,
so how come this still came through?
The RATECs, sometimes the RATECs, you know, the RATECs are covering like 10 polling units. You are covering like 10 polling units. So you have to go around to support the technology. The time you need to do this upload of result is at the end of poll. And the process is, if you are done, if you have internet in your polling unit, transmit your result. If you are having issues, by the time you are moving from the polling unit to the collation center, the result will be uploaded. But if you are still having issues, by the time you get to the collation center, the RATEC will be there waiting for all of you.
But this equipment, in terms of the configuration, I know, because several people use, I mean, it's everywhere these days. There are scanners, there are scanner apps that are there, so they configure them in a certain standard such that if you are using them, they simplify its usage. It reduces to the barest minimum the errors or your ability to capture whatever objects poorly. So is it the same kind of technology that we have?
You took me back to Osun, and that was why I answered you based on that. I was trying to tell you what happened in Osun. At every point that we deploy this technology, we do improve. We improve on the technology. Now, the IREV started using it, we used it in Nasarawa, and we've used it since then. Even the BVAs, after every election, we keep improving. So what we have done now is that the improvement now on this, that the machine does not automatically, when you click to capture, you have to see and you have to OK. So you can't tell us now that, because they come and tell you it was a mistake. Now you can't come and tell us that, oh, I mistakenly captured something else, because it will ask you, is this the image that you have captured? Is it the image that you want to upload? Then you OK it, and it pushes to the back end. So if we see anything, now then in Osun, you can't see whether it is deliberate, because that is the way the system was designed. But now we have improved on it now. So now, if we see any image apart from the form, we'll know that it is deliberate. You took me back to Osun, and I was trying to answer you based on Osun's case. But in 2023, during election, you will not see what Yaga reported, because based on that report and based on what we have also seen on the field, we have improved the system. So the system asks you, is it the image that you have captured? Is it the image you want to upload? You OK it, then the image is uploaded. So you can't come and tell me that I mistakenly uploaded this machine, because the system will ask you, and you will see it.
Okay, because if anyone tries to mistakenly upload,
you will know it will be deliberate in 2023.
And the people's names and IDs will also be there, so we know who's making that mistake.
Yes, because before you use the BVAs, we take your picture.
Okay. Mr. Koye, what do you think about this before Kaide has a question for you?
I was going to ask, why will you need one RATEC to cover about 10 polling units? Why can't you deploy one RATEC per polling unit, so that the area of conflict and the timeline we're talking about will be reduced? Because if you're saying this one covers 10, by the time you go from point A to point B and you're talking about internet, you're losing time, and people are getting impatient. So why wouldn't one RATEC be deployed to one polling station to do the work? You see, like we are saying, we are pointing out what will likely happen, because we are in the field. We see these things happen, and we see where elections are lost. Most elections are lost at the point of transmission. And those transmissions used to be manual. Like you have local government, collation center, state, collation center for a national election, maybe like a senatorial election or presidential election. Once you finish at the polling station, and it has to go from there to the ward, from the ward to the local government, from the local government to the state, you're either losing or you're gaining figures. And by the time you finish, if they now bring that result sheet to the ward and say, this was what people posted as a result, they are surprised. Because they're going to be seeing humongous figures in some areas.
Well, I think it's fair for Dr. Bayode to quickly respond to that.
For instance, you use beavers and capture, on the point of accreditation, you use beavers to capture, and then suddenly the person disappears with the machine. Or a commotion erupts, and then the person moves away, because he will definitely be the one to activate it. And then, at that point, he has captured that 100 people were accredited and probably voted.
Well, Chief Okoye, quickly, because of time.
Those that were accredited were 90 of them for a political party.
Well, Chief Okoye, because of time, I don't want your observation to just go without getting a quick response from Dr. Bayode, and that's specifically about the RATEC. Yes, I have a quick one for you, but just on the RATEC, you talk about saying that why don't we have one for each polling unit? Dr. Bayode, will that in any way affect the speed at which we expect to get the results and maybe the integrity, the general operation of that? Just a quick one.
Okay. Honestly, INEC would have wished to deploy one RATEC per polling unit, but it's going to be very, very difficult for us to deploy. These are not operators, they are technical people to support the technology on election day. If you are deploying one per polling unit, then you'll be training 170-something thousand technical support staff, and this is the process.
Right.
We have always used this process to deploy, and that is why they are called RATECs.
Okay.
Registration Area Technical Support Staff.
Okay.
They are not polling unit tech. They are called RATECs.
Well,
so it's in a polling unit where you have more than we can always deploy more than a RATEC where for a particular registration area we have large polling units. We deploy more RATECs to that registration.
Okay, so essentially that is the thinking and the plan on that one. Okay, thank you, Dr. Okoye. Dr. Bayode, rather, switching titles now. Oh, Chief Okoye, so I'd like you to take a look at this picture because I asked earlier, and I mean, that's what I'm talking about, that meeting. And this is Mr. Ifedi Okoye saying, as part of our engagement in the Northeast and Northwest, we have successfully secured senatorial and House of Reps candidates for Labour Party in all the 13 states. And it says efforts are ongoing. So that was at that time, and you were present in that meeting. As you can see, that's you in that black cap I talked about, and I think the brown outfit. So that's the meeting I was talking about.
Okay. Well, that's why I said I needed to see the photograph. It's a photograph that was used maybe to discuss other issues and then posted maybe inadvertently to cover an event. But that photograph was for a different meeting altogether. It wasn't for the purpose that they just wanted to maybe somebody, the publisher or the person that was sending it wrongly. Just like we're discussing with the INEC man here, he's saying that somebody can post something wrongly. That's what it was. It was a different meeting.
Yeah. So is that RATEC at work now?
That's RATEC at work right there.
Yes. Oh, it's quite interesting the way you string that, because I think it's important to just, clear the air and understand what that meeting was about, because the time that was put
I get what you mean.
is I looked like you were working with Labour Party.
It's okay. It's just that it's a picture that was used for another thing.
Okay, so you're not working with Labour Party in any way? Right.
No, it's not, there's no way you can say you cannot work with Labour Party. You see, we have been allies since 2015.
All right.
Do you understand? Labour Party and other groups, we have been there. We created the CUPP and we have been interfacing. If they have issues, but that particular one was not for the issue of law. It was for a different event. We have interfaced at different levels in the national dialogue. So I think that one was one of it. But somebody wanted to, I want to say it was done inadvertently. It's not that he wanted to cause any mischief. But be that as it may, like I said, Ogwena is from the same state, and we'll keep discussing issues that they cause. And then at the Igbo Elders Council, we also interface. And then at other political groupings, we also interface and discuss issues.
Well, Dr. Bayode, sorry to jump in. So is that the sole responsibility of the RATEC?
The RATEC, they are there to support those technologies on election day. Both the BVAs, if the BVAs is malfunctioning, they are there to assist the presiding officer to fix the BVAs. And if they, at the end of a poll, if they are having issues to transmit the result, they also assist in helping out with that. So they are just there to support the technology from the beginning of the election until the end.
Because I mean, you know,
and they're also there to support the coalition officer, because by the time you are coming back from your polling unit, you are supposed to submit the result that you have uploaded and the BVAs to the coalition officer. So it is a RATEC that the coalition officer is already seeing what you have uploaded. So it just opposes the result that you have brought and the one that you uploaded. It is the RATEC that helps the coalition officer to do that. They go to the internet, bring down the result that you already uploaded, look at and just oppose with the one that you submitted physically, and also look at the BVAs. They check the total number of accredited voters on the BVAs. If everything is okay, then
look, at this stage, I think one can say that every INEC official, ad hoc staff, RATEC staff, they're all suspects on that day. It's not derogatory. It's just to keep people on their toes, so that everybody watches and makes sure. Because in the African time, how people try to penetrate, because you talk about people snapping things wrongly. But it's good to know that whatever they snap and upload, there's a hard copy, which they will have to submit.
Submit, yes.
So party agents have a duty. But the political parties also have a duty to also check and see what is there. But they may want to perhaps impede the process by deliberately submitting poorly taken images. But also good to know that you say INEC has improved.
No, we have improved on that. What you saw in Osun, you won't see here, because like I said earlier, at every of our outing, we come back, we review and improve. So we have improved on all the system. That you talked about, poorly taken image, and people mistakenly snapping the text instead of that will not happen again in the general election, because the system has been improved to ask you severally, is this the picture? Because you'll be seeing the picture before you upload. So you can't tell the RATEC or any supervisor that this is, it is a mistake. You can't do that again, because what happened in Osun, we have improved on it, and you can't see that in the general election.
And for those results where you say that if there is no network and they cannot upload at that point, so it means that while they are moving, those facilities will be on and they are monitored from the center, so that nobody turns it off.
You can't touch. Yes, we'll see them, because if your result has been uploaded, we see that your result has been uploaded, and if your result has not been uploaded, and we are seeing on the control center that system is switched off, they will call you. You see, you have not uploaded your result. Why is your system off? Because you need to put it on from the point from the polling unit till you get to the collation center, because it can pick up network as you move from that location to the collation center.
So it has to be on all the time, such that as soon as it picks up any network, it automatically uploads.
Yes. The only time you put off your system is if you have successfully uploaded the accreditation data, because that accreditation data on your device will also be transmitted.
So that data cannot be deleted?
You can't delete it. You can't delete it.
Okay, can the equipment be
in conclusion, please.
Can the equipment be slowed down to make the accreditation slow?
You can't. Because that is the lie that is going on.
It's not whether it's a lie, because like we said, it works. It's either there's a software that makes it work, or it works through a wave, or it works through a frequency. If you're telling Nigerians that there is no way that equipment can be slowed down, then we will know that. But the point is, because it's a mechanical device or electronic device, there is no way you can say it may not be. If it is not possible, people are saying things, and that's why when Professor Mahmoud said we must use this, some people are afraid. Some people are jittering, and that's why some other people are trying to do mischief by going to do stuff to say, okay, let's remove Mahmoud, since he doesn't want to stop BVAs, that BVAs will do this and do that. There must be a reason for that. So is it possible that when you are about to do your accreditation, it can be slowed down?
I don't know. I've told you, I say it can be slowed down.
Okay.
Yes, it can be slowed down.
It's also good that everyone out there also play their roles to watch each other. It's not derogatory. There's nothing wrong with that. It's putting everybody on their toes to make sure the right things are done. So that's why we wanted you to specify the functions of each of these officials so that everybody knows that this is the functions ascribed to every office. In case one tries to overreach him or herself, everybody knows. So that way, it makes it easier for everyone to check each other. But it's an ever-going, continuing process, the voter education. It never really ends. And so at this point, actually, you have to end this segment. Dr. Lawrence Bayode is Deputy Director, ICT, INEC. So no one can say he wasn't an INEC official that shed light on these matters. And then High Chief Gostin Okoye, former presidential candidate of UDP. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Thank you for having us.
We will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
That's right, from general elections to midterm elections. It's a global village, so as we have elections in Nigeria, we have elections in other countries. It's democracy, right? That's like the bedrock of democracy, they say. So let's talk about the U.S. midterm elections. For some people, it might be a new term. You're wondering, I know about midterm holidays, right, in school, but not midterm elections. So let's have this conversation. We're joined on the program this morning by Mr. Joseph Kruzich, who is a Public Affairs Officer, U.S. Consulate General, Lagos. Joins us right here in our Lagos studios. Good to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We see the results are trickling in already. We'll get to the results part. But for a lot of people who are thinking, wait a minute, midterm elections, we here in Nigeria, a lot of other countries, they have the 4-year cycle elections.
That's
but
right.
For the U.S., it has a little bit of alteration with its midterm elections. So help us understand, what is the value of a midterm elections? I mean, your president has a 4-year tenure. You have a 4-year cycle. Even I think the Senate has a 6-year staggered cycle. So what is the value of this midterm election?
Well, the value, as often seen, is that it's a barometer on the popularity of the current sitting president and the majority party that controls the White House. In this case, right now, it's the Democrats. They control both the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives. And every two years, the House of Representatives, all the seats are up for contestation in the election, and then a third of the Senate seats are contested as well. And there was expectations going into this election that President Biden's party, the Democrats, might lose their majority in either the Senate or the House of Representatives. There was projections in some quarters of possibly what they called a red wave, a Republican surge of support. That didn't seem to materialize last night. The American people made it quite clear that they wanted to continue on with President Biden's administration and the Democrats. It looks like the Democrats may not hold on to their majority in the House of Representatives. That's still to be decided, but they only had a very small majority there anyway. And historically, the party in power, the Democrats, usually lose 20 to 30 seats in the House of Representatives in a midterm election. But what was surprising was as many projected that the Republicans might take back the Senate majority, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like the Democrats will either gain a seat or hold on to the 50-50 split, which they had before. And with that, because of that 50-50 split, the White House has the deciding vote, so essentially they had a working majority in the Senate.
That's with the vice president.
That's right, the vice president.
It's interesting, you know, but just to be clear again, following up on Kadi's question to you, how many election cycles you know, the U.S. because, you know, people are looking for, okay, it's 2024, and that's what many people, you know, seem to be thinking about, 2024. What happens then? How many governorship elections happens when, and all those things. But perhaps some clarity for some people to understand.
Well, it's often the case that the midterms sort of clarify and also predict what will happen in the next election cycle, which will be a presidential cycle. If the president in power loses a strong majority at that time, then it's possible he may not run for re-election again, and so that could happen. Or it's also possible that leaders, and this often happens, and it may happen even in this election too, that leaders from the opposition emerge, especially at the governor's level, where they become perhaps the presidential candidates for the opposition party. And in this case, I would point to one particular state and governor. There's a governor in Florida. His name is DeSantis. He's a Republican. He did very, very well in his re-election for governor last night in Florida. I think he won by 14, 15 points. There's a lot of speculation in Washington and the rest of the U.S. that he may run.
Sorry about that. Well, you were saying something about, you know, but I'm just curious. Is that what happened this midterm elections? Was it a determinant for the election, you know, during that happened to President Trump?
Well, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, the analysts will come up with.
I mean, the midterm elections before he was voted out.
Oh, the midterm elections. Yeah, well, that was a good example of what I was talking about before. It's often a barometer on the popularity of the president. In that case, in the midterms in 2018, when President Trump was in power, his party lost a sizable majority in the House of Representatives. I think they lost 40 seats in that. They also lost Senate seats as well. So that was seen as a sort of rebuke of President Trump in his first 2 years, and also led to his eventual impeachment and then to his eventual defeat in 2020.
That sounds like there's some kind of umbilical cord connecting the president's office with that of legislators. Because it's not just losing seats, it's also political officers losing their jobs.
Well, remember, in the U.S. constitutional system, we have three branches of government. We have the president, we have the executive branch, we have the legislative branch, which is the Congress. Those are the elections that we're watching overnight. And then we have, you know, the Supreme Court and the judicial branch. And so it's natural, especially that the executive branch and the judicial branch have interaction. It's often the case, because of our constitutional structure, that the congressional branch sets the legislative agenda for the passing of legislation and reforms and stuff like that. But, you know, step back here, and the real question, I think, for your viewers is, what are the implications of these elections?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get
for
to
the
that.
U.S.-Nigeria relationship.
We definitely will get to that.
And I think
we're building up to it. Just wanted to understand,
Good.
you know, how it works and if there's a comparison with us.
Maybe we should flow into that, really, because, I mean, there are key issues at stake. I know people have different reasons for voting a particular candidate.
Sure.
I mean, you can't take that away. People seek their interests first, but then there's personal interest, there's national interest. And I'll reel out some of the major issues, maybe nationally and globally, and maybe see how this is playing out. There's the economy. And I think for a lot of people, that's top on the list.
Yes.
Economy. And I imagine that a lot of people feel that they might get, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, people are different now. They think they might get this better with Republicans, more Republicans, maybe.
Yes.
So for them, they thought, let me swing and just get more Republicans and maybe they can handle economy. There talks about rights, you know, this Black Lives Matter and all of that. Also, people have reasons, maybe tilt towards the Democrats, because they have a feeling that, well, they will stand up for you in all of that. So America has your interests at heart first, but then there's a global context.
That's
so
right.
This election, it looks like the economy of America is top on the list, but there's also that global economic crunch. There's a war in Ukraine and all of that. So how will this election help America align with that global need for some sort of economic stability?
Well, I think, first of all, to answer your question directly, I think this strengthens the president, President Biden, his administration in dealing and conducting foreign affairs, because they didn't have, as expected, the Republicans take back in a convincing manner either house of Congress. I mean, it looks like the Republicans may gain a majority in the House of Representatives, be a small majority, but it doesn't look like the Republicans are going to take the Senate.
Even I'm seeing results, and it looked tied now anyway.
Exactly. I just think that it's a good performance, unexpectedly good performance for the president and his party.
So people have said this is clearly a referendum on him. We've seen
I think so.
Former President Obama come on the campaign trail, perhaps to boost, because it's very loved.
That's
really.
right.
We've seen Hillary Clinton as well jump on the parachute to ensure that at least they support. But seeing what is playing out, it's still a bit, maybe few results in will know what the finality is. So in terms of, I don't know whether to call it America first now, or at least America for itself first before for the world. What will this do to relations with Nigeria? I mean, the elephant in the room, first of all, because I imagine that with the recent issues, the travel advisories we have seen, which has caused some sort of uproar. I don't know whether to say bad blood, but I imagine that this is an avenue to work together. Do you think that this will help that relationship, that tie between America and Nigeria?
Yes, I do. I mean, I think my message was going to be, even before the results, were that they will not impact the conduct of our foreign policy, especially our continued engagement with Nigeria. We regard Nigeria as a very important partner on the continent, one of the most important actors on the continent, the largest economy, and a booming economy in many sectors, areas where we really want to be a partner with, especially in the creative industries, in film and music and technology. We were just at the African International Film Festival this week, and we had a huge presence of Hollywood and a lot of American companies, Netflix, Amazon, Paramount Studios, and a whole bunch of others there for the screening of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. It was a great event. And that's where I think Nigeria's future is, and that's where America's future is too, in the tech area and in the creative industries. And I think there, the United States will be, we hope, Nigeria's partner of choice, and Nigeria will be our partner of choice on the African continent and indeed globally as well. So I think there's a lot of positive results that will flow out of this election for the U.S.-Nigeria relationship. Also, let's remember that in December, the president is hosting the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit, December 13th to the 15th, and that is going to be a chance for President Biden to meet with dozens of leaders from the African continent. I think 43, 44 leaders, including President Buhari, will be going to Washington to discuss U.S.-Africa relations.
Right. If I could just put this in, because immigration also is a key issue for people. There are those who think, well, I think we have enough to deal with. Let's just try to reduce the influx. Something, well, it's a free world. You can allow people coming. Do you think this will change? Because I know lots of Nigerians who have tried to, maybe go for studying and all of that, and they've hit a brick wall time and again. So do you think this midterms, I mean, we're going to see how it would swing, but do you think it will improve that immigration, do I say, the move, the status, the current issues that have been a major talking point? Do you think it will improve it, or maybe just will remain with status quo?
Well, it's hard to say at this point what the impact of that's going to be. You mentioned the economy as being a primary motivator for the voters yesterday in the midterm elections in the United States. Other issues that were prominent in that were the abortion debate and the right of women to the Roe v. Wade decision. That was a fairly important issue at stake as well. Immigration and crime were also up there on on the list of voters' concerns as well. I can't say whether this will have any impact on immigration reform. That's been discussed for quite a long time in the U.S., but really nothing's materialized over the past decade on that from what I've seen. So I think it's too hard to predict at the moment. But I do think, I mean, when you talk about students and studying in the United States, I mean, we're going to have new figures out, I believe, next week on the number of foreign students studying in the United States. Nigeria will maintain its position as the 10th largest sending country to the United States. I think we're going to see probably around 15,000 Nigerian students go to the U.S. Every year, and we want to make that number double, triple, and quadruple over the next 3-4 years, and I think we can. Now, I mean, you sort of elliptically referred to the issue of visas and the wait time, and we're working on that. I mean, we don't find the wait time, which is way too long, acceptable. There are some good explanations for that because of the backlog from what was created under COVID. But we are working to reduce that time, and I think we'll have some good news out to report on that in the coming days and weeks.
Okay, we have to wrap up now. There's so much to discuss. I was going to ask you, really, if you think this result will tip a possible Trump comeback, because he's meant to make an announcement, but perhaps we'll leave this for another time.
Okay.
But we'd like to thank you so much. Mr. Joseph Kruzich is Public Affairs Officer, U.S. Consulate General, Lagos. We'll be having you again, because clearly we've not exhausted the issue.
Sure.
So definitely we'll look forward to having you again.
Well, thank you for letting me be on the show, and I look forward to coming back.
Most certainly.
Thank you.
All right, so that's been the show. Well, it's a global village, so you have to keep tabs on things happening all around you, right? You don't want to be caught unawares. I'm Kayode Okikilo. It's been a great time with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Very interesting one there, guys. Well, that is it as well from here. I am Chamberlain, so have a very, very good day today.